Hi everybody, this is my channel Mimi Heba. Welcome to my channel. My name is Vicky. So once again, thank you so much for being here, for being a part of this channel, and for being in this video. I really truly appreciate your time and your energy. As I've mentioned before, in my channel I share my life experiences, and in doing so my intention and my hope is that there'll be something here that will either inspire, motivate and or educate you, especially if you're on your own transformational journey. So I want to begin this video with a story. So a story is told of a young lady who, when she was a child, when she was 4 years, she had a grandfather who had a lot of money, who had amassed a lot of wealth. And this grandfather was looking to do up his will and distribute his wealth amongst his grandchildren. And he was going around visiting his grandchildren just to, do his last checks. Now, this grandfather also had what some would call an enormous nose, a peculiar nose that he was quite insecure about. He was so insecure about his nose, as a matter of fact, that if someone mentioned it, they were going to get axed from the will. And so it was so important that when grandfather was coming to visit this particular girl and the family, that she did not mention the nose. Now, this girl was quite observant and she was vocal, as 4-year-olds are, and she was meeting the grandfather for the first time. So as any parent would be, her parents were concerned that she was going to make mention of his nose. And so they spent the 6 days before he was due for his visit coaching her and, telling her not to mention the nose, not to even look in the direction of the nose. And, and they told her, you go, you say your highs, you greet grandfather, you're respectful, and you leave the room. And so the day came, grandfather visited, and she did exactly that. She was, well-mannered. She exchanged pleasantries with her grandfather, and she was good. She didn't mention the nose. And so with a sigh of relief, her mother goes to the grandfather. So do you take lemon or sugar in your nose? And that plan backfired there. I mentioned this story to highlight not just the little entertainment value that it has, but also the great lesson that is there for us. How sometimes, a lot of the times, where we expend our energy trying to avoid something, it shows up, or it can come out, and it can come out in a very unsavory manner, and it might seem that we don't have control over it. And that in some instances is termed as self-sabotage. And that is the premise of what I'll be delving into in this video. So today's video, I will be talking about our emotional imprint to money. So what I'll be looking at in particular is what an emotional imprint to money is, and how that occurs, or how that happens, the impact an emotional imprint to money can have on our ability to manifest financial abundance into our lives, the different types of emotional imprints we can have, and if it's indeed possible to transform any emotional imprint that we might have that might be stopping us from tapping into our full financial potential. So to begin, I'll explore, look into the emotional imprint and what it is and how it comes about. So our thoughts and our feelings are thought to hugely impact our ability to manifest something into our lives. And so I mentioned self-sabotage previously. And self-sabotage is when we behave or we act in a way that can stop us from manifesting something or from positive development. And self-sabotage presents itself in overt ways, such as us gambling away all our all our finances, all our money, all our earnings, to overspending, to not showing up to work or not being consistent in terms of our work habits, to very covert ways such as negative self-talk, inner self-talk, or even fear of tapping into out of our comfort zone and into something new. And so self-sabotage does come from a belief system that we might feel that we're not good enough or we're not capable of. And that more often than not comes from our childhood, how we grew up, the environment in which we grew up, and how we perceived the way we grew up. The way we grew up is the way we observed our needs being met by our caregivers, be they financial needs, emotional needs, being met by our caregivers. So the way we perceived that, the way we internalized that, then creates a template for us in how we see ourselves and how we perceive others, how we perceive the world, how we perceive others to meet our needs or to assist us as we meet our own needs and our capabilities or abilities, our sense of, our self-esteem, or our sense of self-worth, or our sense of belief in us being able to meet our needs. So mentioning that, it means that it's so important that we go back to our childhood, because our childhood is a treasure trove of information in regards to how we are who we are right now. It's only when we go back to where we came from, when all this was forming, when we were just beginning to develop, our brains were beginning to develop, and our emotional body was beginning to develop, that we were absorbing information. And that information, some of it goes to our subconscious, some of it sits in our emotional bodies, and that becomes the lens through which we perceive ourselves, as I've mentioned just right now, and the way we perceive the world, the way we perceive others. And so if there's any narrative that could have resulted in us thinking that we are not good enough, we might be walking around with that belief system in us, even though we're not conscious of it. That then becomes, it then leads us to sabotage, to get in our way of reaching our full potential. So I wanted to actually define financial abundance, because I keep throwing that word around, and I think it's important that I guess we understand where, what I mean by financial abundance. So financial abundance is having everything you need and then some. And I like that. It's about having a lifestyle of ease and plenty without worrying about money or where your next meal is coming from. When you have a financial abundance, you're able to live your life in a way that feels authentic and true to you. And I don't know who will not want that for your life. And this is something that we are all capable of doing, that we all are deserving of experiencing financial abundance in our lives. But sometimes, like I've mentioned before, based on how we've grown up and the messaging that's come across, we might have those narratives or those stories play out in our minds, in our heads, in our emotional bodies, that are telling us we're not good enough, or we can't depend on others, or the world is not dependable, or it's not safe. And so we live in fear, and we're not able to go out there. We're not able to take calculated risks. We're not able to believe in ourselves. And so we're not able to experience financial abundance. And so now that I've looked at what an emotional imprint is, which is basically a template that we form based off on how we grew up, I wanted to introduce John Bowlby, because a lot of the information that I have conveyed today, and also a lot that I'll be delving into in the next series of videos, will come from the attachment style theory. And the attachment style theory, the dual pioneers of the attachment style theory are John Bowlby and Mary Ainsworth. And so they did their research. They were psychoanalysts in the 50s, 60s, I think 70s, and came up with the attachment style theory, and that has been widely accepted and is widely used as a framework for us to understand the way in which we do adult relationships as it relates to how we grew up and the way we perceived our caregivers to provide for us that emotional, to cater to our emotional needs. I'm tailoring the attachment style theory to look at how our financial needs were met, because that's important. That also, it matters how our financial, or how we perceived our financial needs to be met when we were young, and how that has created or formed a template for us as we are now adulting, and how we can form healthy attachment style so that we can manifest great financial abundance into our lives. So at this point, I think I will talk about I'll briefly mention the 4 different attachment styles that are there that we might have. I'll be delving into each and every one of these attachment styles in relation to money and into finance, because this forms the premise of an emotional imprint. It's what I'm discussing, it's what I'm talking about. But the 4 attachment styles or emotional imprints, as I'm referring to them in this video, that we might have to money are a secure one, an anxious, avoidant, or a disorganized attachment style. So I'll be delving into each and every one of these. I'll be talking about how it presents itself, how it could have shown up when you were young, what conditions, I guess, or an environment could have created any of the 4 attachment styles, and how that looks like in your adult life, and in the situation where there's some limitations to accessing your financial abundance, how you can transform or transmute that imprint, that emotional imprint, or that attachment style, so that it can become you can have a secure foundation, and so that you can be able to tap into your full potential. I think I'll leave that here. I really just wanted to do an introduction video as to how we can have an emotional imprint to money. As I mentioned, I will be talking a lot more into this. I think it's such a relevant topic to us. We probably don't talk enough about money. It seems it's one of those quote-unquote taboo subjects, but I think it's so important to talk about. It really shouldn't be, because we do, as they say, money makes the world go round. We do interact and we do move around in this world with money. A lot of the things we do involve some form of exchange of money. So it's such a significant and important part of our lives that it's worth spending time understanding, how it works, and how we can work with that energy, and we can work with the resources that are available to us, so that we can be able to live happy and fulfilled lives. Thank you so much for listening. If there's anything here that you feel you'd love to share, discuss, I'd love to hear from you. If you feel comfortable, definitely comment below. Other than that, I just want to wish you so much love and so much light. Take good care of yourself. Until next time, bye.